In this video presentation, I shall discuss very short, that is 2 marks question answer from Cadmus section of Ovid's Metamorphoses. Now my dear students, I welcome you all to my educational channel. The name of my educational channel is Priyankar Dotto. Here you can find video presentations on English language and literature of school level, college level as well as of competitive examination. Now before going to the main focus of this video presentation, let me make an important announcement. The announcement is that for making any kind of demand for a video presentation of your interest or of your liking, please contact me through WhatsApp and Telegram in this number 9434581673, and as usual you can contact with me through my email ID. My email ID is priyankardattoenglish@gmail.com. We have recently launched ebook service, and for purchasing ebooks you can send me message through WhatsApp and Telegram in the same number 9434581673, and if you like you can drop me a mail in my mail ID. My mail ID is priyankardattoenglish@gmail.com. Now we shall start with the question answer from the Cadmus section of Ovid's Metamorphoses. The first question is, who was Cadmus? The answer to the question is, Cadmus was the son of Agenor and the brother of Europa. Later on he married Harmonia and became the father of a son named Polydorus and 4 daughters named Agave, Ino, Otone and Simel. Ovid has given a detailed account of the adventure of Cadmus in book 3 of his Metamorphoses. The next question is, who was Jupiter? The answer to the question is, Jupiter was also known as Jove. He was the king of the gods. He was both the brother and the husband of Juno. He kidnapped Europa in the disguise of a bull. He developed a relationship with Simel, and this relationship resulted in the birth of Bacchus. He compensated Tiresias' loss of eyesight by giving him prophetic vision. The third question is, how did Jupiter kidnap Europa? The answer to the question is, Europa was the daughter of Agenor. Jupiter was ensnared by her physical beauty, therefore he kidnapped her. He had the power of assuming any disguise, and he used it by assuming the disguise of a bull. Actually, he did not want to face any obstacle in the act of kidnapping Europa. The fourth question is, who was Europa? The answer to the question is, Europa was the daughter of Agenor and the sister of Cadmus. She was kidnapped by Jupiter and taken to Crete. She bore Jupiter 3 sons, namely Minos, Radamantius and Sarpedon. Her being kidnapped by Jupiter indirectly led to the adventure of Cadmus, the detailed account of which has been presented in book 3 of Ovid's Metamorphoses. The fifth question is, who was Agenor? The answer to the question is, Agenor was the king of Phoenicia. Cadmus and Europa were his children. He exhibited his love for his kidnapped daughter Europa by ordering his son Cadmus either to find out his missing sister or to go for an exile. Indeed, he was strict to his son for the sake of his daughter. The next question is, what did Agenor command Cadmus? The answer to the question is, Agenor commanded Cadmus either to find out his missing sister Europa or to go an exile. It was Jupiter who, in the disguise of a bull, kidnapped Europa. He added that if Cadmus could not find Europa, he must not return to the palace. Thus, Agenor wanted Cadmus to perform his duty as a brother. The next question is, how did Cadmus try to find Europa out? The answer to the question is, Jupiter, the king of gods, kidnapped Europa. Cadmus tried to find her out in his own way. He moved all over the world. In the course of this search, he deliberately stayed away from Phoenicia. He did so to avoid the anger of his father Agenor. However, he did not succeed in finding her. The eighth question is, why did Cadmus fail to find Europa out? The answer to the question is, Jupiter, who kidnapped Europa, was the king of gods. On the other hand, Cadmus was a mere human being. Clear enough, there was no comparison between Jupiter and Cadmus in terms of power. Therefore, it was natural that Cadmus failed to find Europa out. However, Cadmus left no stone unturned in his attempt. The ninth question is, who was Phoebus? The answer to the question is, Phoebus was none other than Apollo, the god of music, poetry and medicine. He was the son of Jupiter and Latona. The shrine of Phoebus was located at Delphi. All Greeks used to pay a visit to the shrine of Phoebus when they faced any problem. Cadmus visited the shrine of Phoebus at Delphi? The 10th question is, what did Cadmus ask Phoebus and why? The answer to the question is, Cadmus asked Phoebus where he would live. Agenor had ordered Cadmus to go for an exile if he could not find out his missing sister Europa. Cadmus did everything he could have done, but still he could not find her out. He did not want to return to Phoenicia because of Agenor's anger, therefore he asked Phoebus the question. The next question is, what did Cadmus ask Phoebus and what reply did he get? The answer to the question is, Cadmus asked Phoebus where he would live. The second part of the question deserves the answer in this format. He got the reply that if he went to the wilds, he would soon be met by a cow that had never been yoked or used for drawing a plough. He was also told that when the cow settled for grazing, Cadmus must build a city and live there. The next question is, describe the cow that Cadmus met after leaving Castilia's cave. The answer to the question is, the cow that Cadmus met after leaving Castilia's cave was the only cow to be found there. It was moving forward slowly. There was no guard to direct its course. There was no halter at its neck as a sign of service to man. It was the cow of which Phoebus had mentioned to Cadmus. The next question is, reproduce the activities of the cow that Cadmus followed. The answer to the question is, the cow that Cadmus followed walked slowly. It crossed the river named Cephissus and Panopeus. Then by lifting its head, it looked at the sky and produced a short but long-lasting sound. Finally, it looked at those men who were following it and sat down on the ground covered with fresh green grass. The next question is, how did Cadmus follow the cow? The answer to the question is, Cadmus followed the cow closely. Actually, he knew that he had to follow the course of this cow in order to find out the place where he would live without facing the anger of Agenor. While Cadmus did so, he praised the god of Delphi, that is Apollo, for showing him the way. The 15th question is, what did Cadmus initially do on reaching the newfound land? The answer to the question is, on reaching the newfound land, Cadmus knelt to thank Apollo. Then he kissed the soil of this land. Moreover, he greeted the mountains and plains of this new land. He thought of doing some acts of sacrifice for Job. He sent his companions to bring water from running springs because he wanted to use the water for ritualistic. The next question is, describe the forest where the companions of Cadmus went to bring water. The answer to the question is, the forest where the companions of Cadmus went to bring water was an ancient one. Its trees had never been cut down. There was a cave in the middle of this forest. Water was flowing out of this cave. A dragon that was sacred to Mars lived in the heart of this cave. The 17th question is, describe the cave in which the dragon lived. The answer to the question is, the cave in which the dragon lived was located in the middle of an ancient forest. It was a structure of rocks and its opening had the shape of a low arch. It was overgrown with creepers and brushwood. Water flowed out of this cave. A dragon that was sacred to Mars lived in the heart of this cave. The 18th question is, describe the dragon that killed the companions of Cadmus. The answer to the question is, the dragon that killed the friends of Cadmus was sacred to Mars, the god of war, according to Roman mythology. It had a golden crest, fiery glinting eyes, a flickering three-forked tongue, three martial ranks of teeth, and a body full of venom. The destructive power of the dragon became evident in its encounter with both Cadmus and his friends. The 19th question is, who were the Tyrian strangers? The answer to the question is, the companions of Cadmus who accompanied him were called the Tyrian strangers. They belonged to Tyre, which was a city in Phoenicia. Cadmus was the prince of Phoenicia. These people had not come to this forest before, thus they were strangers. Moreover, they were strangers to the existence of the dragon. The 20th question from this section is, what was the fateful mission of the friends of Cadmus? The answer to the question is, the friends of Cadmus put their pitchers to collect the water which was coming out of the cave. When the pitchers hit the surface of the water, a dragon came out. The dragon was obviously more powerful than these human beings. As expected, the dragon killed them. Thus, the mission of bringing water proved to be fateful, meaning disastrous. The 21st question from this section is, how did the friends of Cadmus initially react to the in seeing the dragon? The answer to the question is, seeing the dragon, the friends of Cadmus initially became stricken with horror. Therefore, they dropped their pitchers in which they were supposed to carry water. Their blood ran cold out of fear, and their limbs suddenly started to tremble violently. It was clear that they did not have any courage left in them to combat the dragon. The 22nd question from this section is, what did the dragon do before attacking the companions of Cadmus? The answer to the question is, before attacking the companions of Cadmus, the dragon coiled its body in the shape of a curve, and so its body looked like a huge bow. The midpoint of the supposed bow was directed towards the sky. Thus, with more than half of its body, the dragon covered not only a great space but also engulfed the forest. The next question is, how did the dragon kill the companions of Cadmus? The answer to the question is, Ovid did not say anything specifically about the way the dragon killed the companions of Cadmus. He said that the dragon might have beaten them. He added that the dragon might have crushed them by strangling them in its coils. He also said that it might have killed them with the venomous exhale of its breath. The next question is, how did the companions of Cadmus react in seeing the dragon? The answer to the question is, Ovid did not say anything specific about the reaction of the companions of Cadmus in seeing the dragon. However, he said that they might have drawn their swords. He also said that they might have attempted to run away. He added that they might have stood still out of terror. The next question is, why did Cadmus decide to look for his companions? The answer to the question is, it was midday and the sun had reached its topmost position. Therefore, the shadow became the shortest. It was clear to Cadmus that a lot of time had passed since his companions had gone to bring water, so he began to think about the cause of their delay. Therefore, he decided to look for them. The 26th question from this section is, how did Cadmus prepare himself before fighting with the dragon? The answer to the question is, before fighting with the dragon, Cadmus put on the skin of a lion. He took two weapons, namely an iron-tipped spear and a javelin. Of course, Cadmus had the courage to use the weapons against any opposition, however formidable it was. That his preparation was perfect was established in his killing the dragon. The next question is, what did Cadmus see on entering the woods? The answer to the question is, on entering the woods, Cadmus saw the dead bodies of his friends who had come there to take water in pitchers. The dragon that had killed them was looking at them with a sense of triumph. As the dragon had licked the wounds of the friends of Cadmus, its tongue was stained with blood. The next question is, what did Cadmus say in seeing the dead bodies of his companions? The answer to the question is, in seeing the dead bodies of his companions, Cadmus addressed them as his faithful comrades and said that if he could not avenge their death, he would sacrifice his life. It was evident that Cadmus had made up his mind to face the dragon with determination as well as desperation. The next question is, how did Cadmus attack the dragon at first and with what effect? The answer to the question is, at first Cadmus attacked the dragon by throwing a massive boulder at it. Its violent force would have shaken the walls of a lofty fortress and tower. However, the dragon's skin was hard enough to combat the power of the boulder. Moreover, his scales protected him like a coat of mail. Thus, the boulder had no effect on the dragon. The next question is, where did the pointed javelin hit the dragon? The answer to the question is, the pointed javelin hit the dragon's body through the spine. It reached the flank. However, the tip of the javelin hit its rib cage. The heat was so destructive that the veins of its throat swelled. Yellow-white foam came out from its mouth and it started to shorten its body to a coil. However, it was not a deadly hit. The next question is, what effect did the javelin have upon the dragon? The answer to the question is, as the javelin got into the ribcage of the dragon, the veins of its throat swelled, yellow-white foam came out from its mouth, and it started to shorten its body to a coil. However, it had the power to stand up, demolish the trees which blocked its way, and to chew the spear up. The next question is, how did Cadmus try to save himself when the dragon was about to make a counterattack on him? The answer to the question is, when the dragon was about to make a counterattack on Cadmus, he moved backwards and kept himself away from its jaws with the point of his outstretched spear. Since Cadmus was literally powerless in comparison to the dragon, these were wise steps. However, the dragon chewed the head of the spear and thus made the weapon useless. The 33rd question from this section is, what effect did the spear have upon the dragon? The answer to the question is, Cadmus used the spear not to attack the dragon but to keep himself away from its destructive jaws with its sharp point. Still, the dragon snatched the weapon from him and chewed its point. In this way, the dragon made it ineffective. Thus, the spear had no effect on the dragon. The 34th question from this section is, what happened after the dragon chewed the sharp point of the spear? The answer to the question is, after the dragon chewed the sharp point of the spear, blood started to come out of its throat in large amount. But the wound was far from fatal, as it could still move with its injured neck. However, it showed alertness in preventing the point of the javelin from going deeper into its throat. How did the dragon die? The answer to the question is, Cadmus thrust the pointed head of the javelin into the tube of the dragon's body, which connected the dragon's mouth to the stomach. However, he pressed it hard. As a result, the dragon's neck hit the trunk of the tree with all force. Out of extreme pain, the dragon hit the trunk with its strong tail and lay down dead. The 36th question from this section is, what did the voice tell Cadmus when he was looking at the dead dragon? The answer to the question is, when Cadmus was looking at the dead dragon, a voice addressed him as the son of Agenor and asked him why he was looking fixedly at the dead snake. The voice also threatened him that if he continued doing so, he would become a snake and people would look at his changed shape. What did the voice warn Cadmus, and to what effect? The answer to the question is, the voice warned Cadmus that if he continued to look at the dead dragon, he would become a snake and people would look at his changed shape. Hearing this, Cadmus became stunned and afraid at the same time. Therefore, his hair stood erect. Though he did not know the identity of the speaker, the warning produced extreme anxiety in him. The next question is, who was Pallas and what did she offer Cadmus? The answer to the question is, Pallas, also known as Minerva, was the goddess of wisdom and skill. She was the patron goddess of Cadmus. She ordered Cadmus to dig the soil and sow the teeth of the dragon. She added that from these seeds a race of men would come out. Her words proved to be true. The 39th question from this section is, what did Cadmus do in reaction to the order of Pallas and to what immediate effect? The answer to the question is, in reaction to the order of Pallas, Cadmus dug a hole in the soil with his plough and scattered the teeth of the dead dragon. Immediately the soil opened up and a group of armed warriors came out. At first their faces came up and then the rest of their bodies came up. The 40th question from this section is, how did Cadmus react to the armed warriors coming out of the earth? The answer to the question is, when the armed warriors came out of the earth, Cadmus looked upon them as his enemies. He thought that he would have to fight with them. When he was ready to hold his weapons, one of the warriors told him that it was a family feud and suggested Cadmus not to interfere in it. Cadmus accepted the suggestion. The 41st question from this section is, what kind of existence did the armed warrior who suggested Cadmus not to interfere have? The answer to the question is, the armed warrior who suggested Cadmus not to interfere immediately began engaged in a war with another warrior who had also come out of the soil. He killed another warrior with a sword. Then he himself was struck by a javelin thrown from a distance. Thus, he had a very brief existence. The 42nd question from this section is, how did the madness get hold of all the earthborn warriors? The answer to the question is, the earthborn warriors became mad to kill one another. At first, the warrior who suggested Cadmus not to interfere in their affair killed another warrior with a sword. However, later on, he was killed by a javelin thrown from a distance. The person who had thrown the javelin was soon killed. Thus, the process of killing one another continued. The 43rd question from this section is, whose death was as quick as their birth, and how? The answer to the question is, the death of the earthborn warriors was as quick as their birth. The second part of the question deserved this kind of answer. They were born soon after Cadmus had sown the dragon's teeth in the soil. Then and there, they started to fight with one another. In the process, they killed others and at the same time were killed by others. Thus, their death was as quick as their birth. The 44th question from this section is, what did Ovid say about the relation of the earthborn warriors with Mother Earth? The answer to the question is, the earthborn warriors were allotted a very brief span of life. They were ill-fated and thus they had every reason to beat the breast of Mother Earth. These warriors died a few moments after their birth. Their fresh and warm blood drenched Mother Earth. This is what Ovid said about the relation of the earthborn warriors with Mother Earth. The 45th question from this section is, who was Ichian and what did he do? The answer to the question is, Ichian was one of the soldiers who were born from the teeth of the dead dragon. He was one of the 5 earthborn warriors who remained alive. Acting upon the order of Minerva, Ichian threw his arms to the ground and told others that if they would make peace with him, he would do the same to them. The 46th question, or that is the final question from this section, is, what is Sidon and how did Cadmus use the 5 remaining earthborn warriors to his use? The answer to the question is, Sidon is a town in Phoenicia. Cadmus, to be specific, belonged to this town. Cadmus used these warriors, whom, when he set up the city named Boeotia, a country in central Greece, it was god Apollo who had ordered Cadmus to give the name of the city he had set up, Boeotia. This is all about the 2 marks or very short question answer from the Cadmus section of Ovid's Metamorphoses Book 3. Now, before concluding this video presentation, I request you to subscribe my channel, to share my video presentations to your friends, and also to put forward your comment in the comment section of the video presentation. Thank you.